if you want to boost your ranking inside of Google, these are the top 6 things that you should do. So, tip number 1, concentrate on your page title. And why is that? So when you search for something in Google, in this example, how to train my dog to bark, these are the things that people are ultimately looking at, the page titles. So you want to make sure that your page title absolutely matches the user's intent. So if they're searching for how to train my dog to bark, then you want an article title that says something along the lines of train your dog to bark by following these steps, or 3 simple steps to make your dog bark. And this is very important because this allows the user to see what they're after and go, yeah, that's the one I want. And actually by doing that, that's going to increase your click-through rate, which Google loves, because then it shoves it up the results and then it goes, yeah, but has some more traffic for free. So the second most important thing that we should look at is the meta description. And why am I saying that? Same reason really. So this is the biggest thing, the title, but obviously if there are 2 websites that have got the same thing that say how to train your dog to bark, this meta description here is going to be the deciding factor as whether you get the click or your competitor gets the click. So you want to make sure that your meta description is also on point. And also a little cheeky extra bonus thing, the fav icon, if you can have it, that's what these icons are here. If you've got a cool fav icon, so this is a little dog foot, that's going to encourage me to click on it because I'm interested in dogs. And it's, funnily enough, a fav icon of a dog foot. I'm going to be like, yeah, that's the site I want. So what's next on our list? Your headers. So why do your headers come into this? So when Google looks at a website and they try to understand what it's about, the headers are the things that are the most important on the page, and it looks at and it tries to understand what it's about. And additionally, if you see a table of contents as a user, the thing that you're looking at is the headers to go, oh, look, this talks about when the doorbell goes, when the mailman's there, when I'm in a public space. And it's going to be, oh, for the bark training that I want, yeah, like I want to deal with the doorbell. That's something that's very important to me. So by having that called out in the headers right at the top level, the user or Google doesn't need to go through the content to read it to find out, does that maybe match what I'm after? Because yes, it contains what I need. I haven't had to go any deeper. So it's very important you match with the headers to get it right there up at the front. So what's next? Your content. Once you've read the headers, you're then going to go into the deeper content, and be very careful with this. So I'm not saying that you should stuff your content full of how to train your dog to bark, every few words. Like that used to work years ago. Nowadays, the computers are much smarter. When you write an article, you need to provide helpful content. Like Google released the helpful content update a few months ago for exactly that reason. You need to satisfy their query, but at the same time, it needs to be helpful. It has to read, it has to be good. Like, don't throw out a bunch of AI content that's crap, that's just filled with keywords, and you've maybe used some tool that matches every keyword possible. Like, you need to think about it. You need to make sure that someone coming to this website will read from top to bottom, will be really interested. Ideally, you want to satisfy the query at the very top. So if it says how to train your dog to bark, it says you can train your dog to bark by doing these simple bit of training. But then the rest of the article is more detail. So recipe blogs are an absolute nightmare for this because they love to make people scroll. And by making people scroll, Google sees it as time on page. So actually they rank really well by having a recipe that contains what you want. So obviously it has to be a good recipe, but at the same time keeps people on that page. And actually, if you're writing recipes when people are actually following them, great time to have really high time on page because it takes half an hour to make the actual food, right? So there's a little cheeky trick for you. And then the other very important thing, very important, and you should probably do this up front, is the keyword research. So a great example for this, you've got a mate Dave. He knows everything there is to know about football. And how do you know that? Because he talks about it constantly. He talks about who scored the most goals, who made the most passes, which referee is involved, when that certain referee is involved, how it affects the output of the game. Then it's more likely to be a 3-0 draw or something. So if anyone comes to you with a question about football, you say, hey, speak to Dave. Someone comes to you with a question about cats. You don't say speak to Dave. Maybe Dave's got a cat. Maybe Dave said the odd occasional thing about cats, but you're not going to pass him on. You're not going to pass them over to him. And this is why Google does the same thing. Google says, hey, this website is niche down. It knows everything that there is to know about dog barking. So if someone's got a question about dog barking, I'm going to give it to them. Actually, maybe you expand over time to dogs in general, and then any dog question, it's like, hey, come to our website. Like, that guy's going to have the answer for you. But if you got a question about football, like if Dave was talking about football occasionally, he was talking about the weather occasionally, he's talking about cups occasionally, you're never going to refer anyone to him. Why would you? Like, he's not specialized in anything. He's not the go-to man for whatever it is the person's come to talk to you about. And Google does the same thing. It treats it exactly the same as you would real life. If someone's talking about how to train a dog to bark constantly, and then someone asks, hey, do you know anyone that knows how to train dogs to bark? You go, hey, that website, that is the one. And Google's really smart with this. And yeah, we should be too with our content. And the final tip for how you can rank really highly in Google is your link strategy. And I don't just mean like external link strategy to that, I also mean internal. So if you've just written an article on the perfect way to train your dog not to bark, you can look for your other content that maybe mentions dog training, and it says, hey, if you've got a barking dog, you should check out our other article on how to train your dog not to bark. And the link is literally those exact words. And then update that old article to point to this one. The good thing about that is that Google loves it when you update old content. So brilliant. You've just updated that old content and potentially bumped it up in the rankings. You've also shown Google that this page you believe should be ranked for how to make your dog not bark. Brilliant. So you're now promoting yourself for that keyword even higher. And doing that is so powerful. But on top of this, we need to think about offsite as well. So we need to reach out to other people that are on the internet, so other blogs. Let's say we find a website that is to do with dog grooming. And then we reach out to them and say, hey, I love your blog. I also run a dog rat blogs. Mine's specifically about training. I'd love to link out to you and say, if you've got a problem with dog grooming, then you should check out Bob's website on dog grooming. And if I put that link out there to you, do you fancy building a link back to me that says, hey, if you need to do some dog training, Ashley's website's the one that will help you with making your dog not bark. And by doing that, you'll get a link, they'll get a link. Both of you get elevated in your position in Google for proving that you're both like the go-to sources and other people are recommending you. Same as I'm recommending my mate Dave for the football. And by doing that, you go up the ranks. Brilliant. Very easy. Anyway, like and subscribe.